Sophia was once the envy of everyone around her. In her 20s, she was slim, stunning, and used to turn heads wherever she went. People couldn't help but notice her beauty, and she enjoyed the attention. But as the years passed, her body started to change. Slowly, at first, but eventually, Sophia found herself gaining more weight than she could manage. By her mid-30s, she had gained so much weight that she barely recognized herself in the mirror. Her family became distant, no longer inviting her to gatherings or checking in. They made excuses, but Sophia knew the real reason: they were embarrassed by her weight. She felt isolated, not just from them, but from everyone who had once admired her. At work, she was overlooked, and socially, she felt invisible. Sophia had once been in a relationship with a man named Chris. When she was slim and full of confidence, Chris had been proud to be seen with her. But as she started gaining weight, things changed. Instead of supporting her, Chris became distant and manipulative. He began taking advantage of her, constantly asking her for money and making her feel like she wasn't enough. Despite the emotional strain, Sophia held on, hoping that things would improve, but they didn't. One night, Chris walked out of her life for good. "I can't do this anymore," he said bluntly, staring at her with cold eyes. "I'm ashamed to be with someone like you." His words crushed her, breaking what little self-esteem she had left. Sophia felt utterly abandoned. The man she had trusted, who should have loved her through thick and thin, left her because of her weight. It was the final blow, and Sophia spiraled into a deep depression, withdrawing even further from the world. It was in that dark place that she became desperate to find the surgeon who could fix her body. One day, while scrolling through her phone, Sophia came across an article about a secretive surgeon, Dr. Ethan. The rumor was that he could reshape bodies and make miracles happen, but he kept his work quiet to avoid attracting too much attention. Sophia, desperate to regain her former self, made it her mission to find him. After weeks of discreetly asking around, she found him leaving his private clinic late one evening. Without hesitation, she approached him. "Dr. Ethan?" she asked, her voice trembling. He barely glanced at her. "You've got the wrong person," he said coldly, walking past her. But Sophia wasn't giving up. She followed him for days, waiting outside his clinic, catching him at the gym. She was relentless, determined to get his help. Frustrated by her persistence, Dr. Ethan finally snapped. "All right," he said sternly one day after spotting her again. "If you want my help, meet me tomorrow morning at 6 a.m., and be ready to work out." Sophia thought this was the first step toward surgery, so she agreed. The next morning, Dr. Ethan put her through an exhausting workout. It was grueling, harder than anything she had ever done before. But Sophia believed it was part of the process before surgery, so she endured it. Day after day, she came back, thinking this was just the beginning. But as the days turned into weeks, something unexpected happened. Sophia noticed her body changing a little, not through surgery, but through the hard work she was putting in. She was getting stronger, her stamina was improving, and slowly, she started to feel better about herself. Dr. Ethan, who had initially tried to scare her off with tough workouts, began to see her determination. One afternoon, after an especially tough session, Sophia collapsed onto the floor, breathless. When is the surgery?" she asked, her voice shaky. Dr. Ethan looked at her for a long moment before finally sitting down beside her. "There is no surgery, Sophia," he said quietly. "You don't need it." Sophia stared at him, confused. "What do you mean? You've been doing this yourself. Every day you show up, you're changing, naturally. I wanted to see if you'd quit, but you didn't. You've proved to yourself that you're capable of more than you thought." It took a moment for Sophia to process what he was saying. All this time, she had believed that surgery was her only way out, but Dr. Ethan had pushed her to see what she could accomplish on her own. Over the next few weeks, their relationship shifted. They spent more time together, not just working out, but talking. Dr. Black started to care about Sophia in a way he hadn't anticipated. And Sophia, who had once been consumed by the idea of surgery, began to appreciate Dr. Ethan for the support and guidance he had given her. By the time several months had passed, Sophia had slimmed down significantly. Her body was toned, healthy, and she radiated the kind of beauty that wasn't just skin deep. It wasn't just about losing the weight, it was about gaining a newfound strength, inside and out. When she stepped out into the world again, people couldn't believe their eyes. Her family, who had distanced themselves when she had gained weight, suddenly wanted to reconnect. Old friends who had once ignored her began calling, and colleagues who had overlooked her were now eager to chat. But Sophia wasn't the same woman she used to be. She saw through their sudden interest. They wanted to know her secret, to understand how she had transformed, but she wasn't going to let them back into her life so easily. She had learned too much about herself in those months. She knew who her true supporters were, people like Dr. Ethan, who had been with her through the hardest moments, pushing her to see her own potential. It wasn't long after that Sophia and Dr. Ethan made their relationship public. The bond they had formed over months of hard work and shared goals had grown into something undeniable. They no longer hid their feelings from each other, and soon, their love story blossomed in the open. Not long after, they got married in a small, intimate ceremony, surrounded by only the people who truly mattered. Sophia's journey had come full circle, and she had not only reclaimed her body but her confidence, her strength, and her happiness. She no longer needed validation from the world or from people like Chris, who had once made her feel small. Sophia and Dr. Ethan lived a life filled with love, support, and mutual respect, a true partnership built on overcoming obstacles together. And as they built their future, they knew that whatever challenges came their way, they would face them side by side. Happily Ever After wasn't just a fairy tale, it was the life they had created, together. Please subscribe, like, share, and leave a comment on what you think or learned from the story.